I'd like to call the study session to order. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Robinson. Hurt.
Here.
Gilbert. Present. Swanson. Parker.
Here.
Poulos.
Here.
And Healy. Mayor Tomes.
Here. I guess I'm up next. Public comment. Man, I'm gotta wake up here. Public comment. Nobody there. Nobody signed up. I'm looking in the room. Nobody there. We don't do virtual. So we shall move on. Presentations. Andrew, you're up first.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm Andrew Dasso. I'm principal architect with Streamline Architects, and Emily Storm, interior designer and project manager. So we're kind of at the conclusion of our conceptual design phase. This phase had numerous steps. First step was to measure the existing spaces of the first, second, third floor. We hosted small group meetings with several council members, staff, IT, and police to discuss security. After those meetings were held, we reviewed the comments from the small groups. A lot of the comments had security in mind, IT upgrades, updating furniture, finishes, furniture, and also updating programmatic elements like you'll see we're adding a boardroom or a conference room behind the council. We have a opportunity to add another office on the first floor for city attorney. So after we went through and developed this beautiful design, we began to kind of line item out scope of work. Based on that scope of work, you'll see we developed an estimated cost. Now the costs that you're seeing are just based on historical data from our experiences that we've had kind of in today's climate. They're not exact. We haven't had any contractor input, subcontractor input. So all the costs are not what you'd averagely see. You'd see more breakdowns, and we'll get into kind of how I came about those costs. And then today, so we're here to kind of review the scope of work. The next portion of our phases or work will be developing the construction documents and bidding the project out upon your discussion. So I'll just move right along here to the first floor. So you're seeing here, which screen works best for you guys? Do I need to alternate or?
No, I think you do, what do you do one? You do both, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, the pointer does not. I apologize. You're
Okay.
right.
So what you're seeing here, the main entrance, the lobby space, the dashed lines are those that we're proposing to remove or demo. So this is the existing mailroom. This new line here is, you'll find in the proposed plan an accommodation of a new restroom that'll serve as an ADA restroom, all gender. We're widening the opening here to create more open office area, eliminating the doors between mayor's office and the conference room and between city manager's office and the conference room to allow for this future office here. A lot of the stuff you're not seeing on the screen is, carpet, painting all walls, ceilings, lighting, furniture. So I'll move on here to Emily.
All right. So here is our proposed floor plan with some furniture also displayed to kind of see and visualize the space a little bit better. So
We're not proposing purple floors.
yeah, no, the colors are just
Good
kind
point.
of space planning colors. So you can see the purple is kind of displaying like a public area. The yellow is displaying more of a office setting. So again, kind of public comes in here, and then I know I heard some people already talking about it, but kind of getting this trophy area to be more of a reception desk is kind of the big change in this lobby. We talked about where those trophies going to go, and we have proposed, this is currently a doorway right here, so this would be our proposed solution to kind of minimize trophies, but still have the really important ones there in that little bump out, and just kind of enclose that with a nice trophy case. As Drew kind of mentioned, opening this back up, so then this serves as a more public area and for the people in these offices to just kind of flow in and out. Again, these offices are really great sizes, so there's plenty of room to kind of have small group meetings in there, and then also provide another area for small group meetings if necessary. A really important factor to this design is also keeping this view open. So say maybe someone's not here at that reception area one day or for a little bit, the person sitting here can always kind of have a view of that front lobby. It helps with security and kind of provides another area for someone to kind of touch base with anyone that's maybe looking for where to go. A really important thing too that we mentioned in all of our small groups was wayfinding and signage. So we'll improve that throughout the lobby, and then also having someone right there can really guide people in and out and wherever they need to get to. This view here is a rendering we did that provides kind of a view of what this can look like. We want to keep a lot of the historic value that and character that is already here, and just kind of step it up and modernize it in a way that's still manageable and still appreciates everything that we have. So here again is kind of that trophy area, keeping flags, the green granite we can make work, and then this, it's kind of hard to see from where I'm at least, is glass. So we had a lot of discussions in small group meetings and kind of talked about the security here. The police station has a really great solution to this. It's kind of layered glass, so there's still a lot of sound coming through. It's still really easy to hear people and communicate through the glass, and it also provides a really great security. So that's kind of what you're seeing there, again, with kind of like openings where you can pass things under, maybe a box that you can slide bigger things in. And then for those of you wondering about the mail, where that would go, there's plenty of kind of options, but there's a really great spot in the basement that would be a great large mailroom as well. This here is just kind of a rendering again of some furniture placement. You can kind of see, as Drew also kind of mentioned, there isn't an ADA restroom in the building, so this would create a really great spot. We're kind of landlocked here with this one, so we kind of just minimize this office a little bit. It's a really large office today, so you wouldn't lose much by creating an ADA bathroom in there.
Oh, wow, that's gonna be.
That's gonna be hard to read.
Well, as I went through this and developed a budget, you'll see the descriptions. The purpose behind developing this estimate is really to try to identify every element that we can foresee in a renovation like this.
If you don't mind getting to the microphone, just because.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So we'll do our best to kind of foresee every element that is possible that would reflect cost. There is some smaller items, Sally Port, re-energized. Had never done that before, so I just put a placeholder, $5,000. It could be $500. We have flooring called out. There's square foot numbers based on carpet tile and what we've experienced. Ceilings, painting and wood finishing. Not saying we're going to refinish every piece of wood, but we will refinish, and it'll kind of expected to look brand new when we're done. New doors, door hardware, that is so the main point that we're trying to get across is that to get it from lobby entrances into staff areas, there'll be a secured access using the card reader system that's throughout the city to integrate that in. Mechanical systems, there isn't a lot of upgrades other than adding a mini split in the IT room that was discussed, and then modernizing the thermostats, plumbing, you'll see we're replacing all the fixtures throughout the, both restrooms on the first floor, also the restrooms in the offices. Just modernizing them, refinishing the vanities, electrical upgrades, IT. Security and IT are items that can, we could spend $1 million if we needed to. We tried to, you'll see on the third floor, we tried to put a healthy number in for IT. I'm sure it could be more. We thought with the amount of work being done, we can have it covered, so. Onto the second floor, the existing conditions. This scope of the second floor is pretty minimal, but it, as we're getting into, that's the existing wall, that dashed line. This would be the proposed new. So giving you an idea, well, first, I've experienced this counter a few times in my life, and yeah, it's not as inviting as other cities. So we're just doing our best to make sure that developers, builders, architects, they all feel welcomed here. Have a place to discuss plans without having to go into a conference room. So when we get to the next slide, I'll let Emily kind of show that. But reusing, there's a terrazzo floor that extends all the way to this line. So we're hoping to reuse the terrazzo floor in this area and kind of reuse what was probably there years ago. So go ahead.
So again, purple being more of a public space, yellow just being those offices. So having this extension of window kind of provides multiple workstations for everyone. People kind of come in for different reasons. So this gives them the privacy they need a little bit too, by developing these kind of separate areas. It gives a lot of room for the waiting room. If there are some people, kind of waiting to have their plans reviewed. We love how historic the lobby is. So part of this design is also bringing some of that character upstairs. There's not a bunch of character, as many of you know. So just warming up the space, maybe bringing in some of those wood panels that we have on the first floor, maybe doing that glass again, so people can still hear really well, and just really creating an inviting space where people feel like they can review things here and really just, build the city, and be welcomed here. So this would be a new extended window. Right now it's pretty small, just right here. And then this would be a new window there. And then on the opposite side where this view isn't showing would also be a window. So there's plenty of workstations here. And then creating this kind of wraparound countertop gives plenty of space for working together on documents.
So with the budget on this plan, as I mentioned before, these budgets are built in a way that we can, as you're moving a wall, the cost of moving the wall, it's not just the wall, we're revising the ceiling, the electrical, the flooring, the paint, the wood, and it starts to add up. So obviously, there are probably other ways to achieve this floor plan without moving the wall, but the one thing is that it's very tight on the second floor. As you get off the elevator, there's not much of a lobby. So, the comments we were receiving was, it would be great if we had a place for people to wait and without, just standing there feeling awkward, especially if they come at, I think the office is closed between noon and 1. So if there's a place for somebody to sit down, it'd be, allow for them to be welcomed. But the glass partition, so that's something, I did get subcontractor input on that. I did talk to our neighbors over in East Moline and asked about a level 308 caliber bulletproof glass. Just, I wanted to make sure we held it in there to give you guys an option. It was the recommendation, so, yeah. And we plugged a number in for the glass at 250 a square foot, but, and the window size can obviously get smaller. But So onto the third floor, this plan, it's probably easier just to look around and see. But, you know, we're replacing the floor. Technology upgrades is a must. Ceilings. This is actually not a drop ceiling as you would imagine. It's glued onto a furring strip ceiling. So there's probably not much room to get actually equipment and stuff ran. So I think the ceiling that we're proposing will hang a little bit lower. You know, just modernizing the space. The flooring, carpet will help with sound. Believe it or not, these drapes probably absorb most of the sound in the room. And new doors and window frames. Security is a huge, you know, increase the security of the space, make this more safe for everyone. Okay.
Again, another colored floor plan, but not green carpet. So kind of where we are right now is this larger green area. We talked about just modifying the restrooms as far as the restrooms up here, just kind of updating the finishes in there. They're a bit tired, so if we, you know, update those, I think it'll go along with this room and flow in really nicely. I'll kind of highlight kind of from the back. So if you may or may not know, there are windows behind that blue curtain. So exposing those windows would be great while making a new conference room for you guys. So that could hold, you know, group meetings, study sessions, numerous things in here. We're proposing a line of cabinetry right there because we know you love coffee bars and fun sodas. So, you know, if you have a little under-the-counter refrigerator, you can hold your waters there. You won't have to be running up and down the stairs to get water bottles. It's kind of a great area to host. Say you have a luncheon, have visitors from out of town. It would be a great space. And it sounds like it's very needed. We know all of our meetings we had with you all were down in the basement, and how fun would it be to have this space to kind of dream up ideas and have meetings with people from out of town. And then that blue square that's next to that room is storage. So as you can kind of see today, we have fixed seating, and what we're proposing is flexible seating. So these chairs would all be stackable. We could have tables that collapse, and this room right here would provide the storage that we need for bigger events, larger events, bring things in and out as you need, because storage seems to be lacking just a little bit here today. This outline right here is a raised platform that would be 6 inches high. And then this little rectangle is a little ramp. So just to elevate you all just a little bit would help with the view, kind of see you all at a little bit better view and see your faces. And then kind of fun feature, we've talked about security being very important, is there's a door right here. So you'll see this new wall that we have is kind of a decorative wall, but we would kind of hide a door in there. And so it's another security exit. Maybe it's just a holding room, just real quick to get back to the staircase if needed. Hopefully it's never, ever, ever needed, but just in case, we're just thinking of the future and how we can kind of add another layer of protection and still incorporating it in this arched wall as well, kind of a bulletproof area that you could duck down to if needed. We have a table here in the center. We'll show you more in the renderings how that can be used. But again, a flexible table, maybe it's for small meetings, maybe it's to hold display boards or Citizen of the Year awards when you have those important meetings too. But again, a lot of chairs are being shown here and then lots of standing room too. So hot topics, you can fit everyone in here still. So here is a rendering that we're proposing for this space, looking towards the front. So that podium is mobile, so you could walk around if you need to, if you want to present from the back, from the side. Gives you, again, a lot of flexibility. We're proposing updated technology in the TVs that are mounted there rather than the projectors. TVs, you can do a lot of casting and sharing. So again, modern technology would be great for the space. Carpet to absorb sound. Those wood walls on the back would have acoustic properties that could help absorb sound as well. And then again, still keeping some of those historic values, still having plenty of room for the flag and your beautiful crest. This is another view here. So The custom table that we're showing there in the middle is kind of what I mentioned, could be super flexible. It could be something that's used for meetings or just for, private meetings too. So we're also showing a drop-down ceiling there as well for acoustic value and some more intimate lighting. We talked about everything being dimmable and really incorporating all those elements into this new look. And then again, showing the option of putting chairs all the way around it if needed for a meeting. The tables you're seeing on the side would be kind of in between the columns, fixed seating for other staff members to sit in. Yeah. And then, very important. I noticed when you all got here, you pulled out your like independent laptops or iPads or whatever you're working on. Within this new design, we're proposing computers to be built in and to be already at your table. So everyone has the same look, it's really clean. And they would be on stands, yep, and then kind of creating a little ledge there, so it kind of hides things as well. A lot of our conversations talked about buttons and technology on top of the desk as well, kind of more concealed or not so easily hit as you have buttons underneath. So there is just the 3D rendering of the view from above. Again, plenty of room for hosting events in here. If you have celebrations, retirement parties, this room is just going to be it for you. Budget?
So like the first and second floor, just doing our best to go through, itemize every element. I'm sure I'm missing some, but when we get to the next slide, I'll show you where we kind of cover those. But, really kind of covered handrails, casework, door hardware, ceilings. You'll see there's square foot cost versus quantity cost. This is just a working budget, and it's just based on the work we've done in the past year, really, with offices and banks that we've done. So, wow, it's even getting harder. So you'll see up here, I'll just point to sections, and then you guys can. When you get a general contractor estimate, you'll have a series of general conditions. Those are usually ranging between 10 and 15%. Those cover your dumpsters, your on-site supervision, your cleaning fees, random stuff. It's a hold all for your general contractor. That it's not a percentage based. It is actual number when you get into the construction bids. Today, we try to do our best to itemize it out, but there's a lot of other parts to those. First, second, third floor all separated, and then we get down to the overhead, I call it, but this would be your general contractor fee, your architect's fee, your bond insurance, and then I held a 10% contingency. So the 10%, it's a comfortable, safe hold at this point because we haven't had any contractor input. So there's obviously always things that we want to make sure we have tested. Before we touch the floor, if we're going to demo the floor, we want to make sure we get it tested and abated. I didn't cover any of that in the budget because those items you don't plan for, unfortunately. You try. So it's a working document. It's meant to be, and and I tried to do my best to itemize it out so that you guys can plug and play and really have a good discussion about the project. So this just briefly where we're at today. We're at the end of conceptual design. Next steps, if project moves forward, would be development of the design and construction documents, bidding phase, and then we're estimating this construction to be 4 or 5 months of construction. The prime time to bid this would be late fall, just to try to capture some of the winter conditions of, having a fully interior project. You could get better bidding around that time when contractors are a little slower, so. That's all we have. Welcome to ask us any questions, or we'll sit down, but, yeah.
Appreciate that. Questions, anyone? Or comments, thoughts?
I think it looks great.
Judith?
Well, I think you've done a fantastic job taking all the comments and coming up with great designs. My question is, how are we gonna pay for this? What funding sources do we have? You knew this was coming, right?
Yeah,
How are you gonna pay for it?
yeah, it will put
It's like a $2
together,
million project, and I think we spent most of the ARPA except for $383,000, according to her
yeah.
thing.
She'll talk a little bit more about the ARPA later, and we're still tallying it up, but the proposed funding source, and we'll provide more detail on it, it'll be a combination of ARPA and surplus general funds. Linda will be providing a report shortly on the exact amount, but last year was pretty good in terms of general fund surplus. $7+ million would be available. Typically, we would put that into capital projects. This would be a capital project, in my opinion. So it would be some combination of ARPA and general fund surplus would be the recommendation. And we'll continue to work on the cost. We won't know until it's actually bid, but we'll continue to work on the cost and refine it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, I mean, you have to start somewhere. So this is probably the first step of a long journey, but
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think, because we've already, we're moving ahead on Marina, and that could be another 2 to 3 million coming out of this surplus money. So, I think it's really essential that council have a financial report of what surplus funds have come in, what have we spent, or what have we already allocated, or we think we're gonna use, and are we gonna keep any of it for reserves or savings for emergency-type projects? We've got a big reservoir dome project we haven't talked about in months. And to me, like, a 90-day cushion isn't a whole lot, because if another pandemic happens, God forbid, or a financial meltdown, 90 days isn't gonna get us very far. That's just my opinion. I mean, it would be great to see this, and I did send out an email on Friday to people on my list saying this is coming up, plus the ARPA update, because I know people are interested in it. I have spent the entire weekend responding to all the emails that I got about this project. People are like, yeah, if you got ARPA money left over, use that, but most people are like, really? The other thing I noticed too this week, I just looked on social media for feedback about our downtown project. I couldn't believe the number of comments from people about our streets. And I said to Todd, we need to come up with a street plan, because people are like, you're putting money into the downtown, you're putting money into City Hall. What about our streets? Because they just continue to deteriorate, you know?
I played the lottery.
Yeah, well, yeah, isn't it like, it's getting nearer $500 million, right?
That's right, that's
Yeah.
right.
Can we do that? That would be fun, right?
Yeah.
With respect to kind of the next steps and how the financing of the project fits into the process, the next step will really be to move into phase 2 and award a contract with Andrew to do the phase 2 work. You'll remember we kind of broke the design up into 2 pieces. So you'll see here that it'll take 3 months to get, kind of to the bidding negotiation phase, 4 months to award a project. That'll fit right in with our budget process. You know, you'll be in October or November, so we'll have a good chance to talk about all those questions that Alderperson Gilbert raised and how this fits into the framework of next year's budget and the larger, you know, plan to address the long-term needs of the city.
And have better
Yeah, yeah.
actual numbers, yeah.
As we move further into the process, you'll refine the numbers, and then, you know, we won't award a contract until after the budget's been talked about at great length.
Any other questions, comments?
Appreciate everything that you've done. I think this project is easy to criticize. I'm not surprised, Alderperson Gilbert, that you've gotten a lot of public feedback, perhaps in the negative, about this type of project. I think the public is probably skeptical of redoing City Hall. However, I think this is one of those projects that you're never probably going to have an enormous amount of public, outcry to redo City Hall. It is badly needed. How are we supposed to take ourselves seriously? How is the public supposed to take us seriously if we are meeting in public spaces like this? It kind of represents our own self-esteem, self-image, and it's not great. It's about, 40 years old plus. I love the Freedom Shrine, but, come on. So I think that we are going to get some criticism from the public on this project. However, I would encourage us to not be deterred by some of that. I think that this is just one of these projects that we have to prioritize. It's one of tens of millions of dollars worth of ARPA projects that we are doing, and I think the time is now. We're not going to have another opportunity to redo City Hall like this.
Well, and just remember those bulk of the money that we would be spending. I mean, it's their money. We're spending their money, so they have a voice.
Anything else? Mark, you okay?
I see some things in there that concern me, I'll be honest with you. And it's something that we can discuss later, because I don't want to react at first sight. I know that I've seen this already once, but this is something, a project this large, and looking at the breakdown of what we're spending for what we're getting, I have some concerns. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but I do have some concerns, and I want to make sure that we go forth in, with open eyes, not saying, hey, this is a great new house. I love the new house. I'll buy the new house. I can't afford the new house. And I agree with Alderman Parker, it is if we don't take ourselves seriously, how is the public going to take us seriously? But we also have to spend wisely.
Thank you. Randy?
So I think the project, and I understand there will be some criticism, but let's just face it, we take criticism for a lot of things. So I feel that we have to invest in ourselves. We do have to invest in our image. And just like a lot of things around, at some point, you're going to have to, at some point this will come and it's going to have to be done. And I fear that the cost of this, to do the things that we want to do, is going to continue to rise. The longer you put this off, those costs will certainly go up. So I'm excited for, how we approach this, and I do, I do understand the cautions that come along with it. But I think it's great. I think it looks good.
Good. And I echo a lot of those. I got to say this myself, I think it's overdue. I think we need to proceed with this and move forward with it and present ourselves well and talk about economic development a lot, but, when you're presenting yourselves to people that are looking at spending a lot of money, making investments in your city and everything else, we need to present ourselves correctly, and along with just the general public sitting here. So they deserve that. So I'm in support of it. All right, if there's no other questions or comments, Judith, you all right?
Well, I just want to say for the record too, in my group meeting or whatever, I was told $1 million. Then I heard from other aldermen in their meetings, it was 1.5 million. Now we're up to 1.9 or $2 million, so it's just like, it's like doubled since I first heard about it, so.
And you better vote on it now, because next week it'll be 3 million.
That's right. He said the costs are going up, no, but that's, until you keep diving deeper, you gotta keep getting deeper to get more accurate, but
Well,
yes.
as they say,
This is at 1,000 feet up.
they said with the downtown thing, until the project's bid, you have no idea.
That's right. That's exactly,
what-
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
What you'll have to
So,
then decide on.
Well, I think bidding climate is important to take into consideration. We had a project bid and a month ago, and we had 3 general contractors, 2 of them responded, and a lot of them, they were all telling us we only could get 1 electrician to bid it. We can only get 1 plumbing outfit to bid it, so it's this time of the year is busy. Come fall, it's gonna be less busy.
Oh, I did have another question, but it's not really for them. So that renew reception area, and then we're keeping part of the other reception area. So is the new, or soon to be hired, hopefully, executive assistant, will they be manning this reception area, or they'll be still in the other space, and we're hiring new people, or what?
Yeah, some of that's gonna be worked out. It just doesn't presume any set number of people. It's functional and could work whether we have 1 person or not. You know, we throwing around different ideas, maybe getting some interns or some vocational students, you know, to work, to man the desk for certain part-time hours. When we talked about hiring an internal city attorney, some of the numbers I gave you included some administrative assistants, you know, so that may play a part in it too. So it hasn't been decided, but I think the space would work whichever way we go, whether it's 1 person or 1 person plus some part-timers or something different.
okay. Thank you very much. Well done. We'll be getting back to you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, Samantha, you're up next.
Okay, good evening. I was just thinking back, I think this is the 6th presentation I have given to council since April of '22. So I was here last year when we had the survey about this time last year. So where are we? Tonight I'm going to just give a real quick refresh for those that are listening or that kind of, need a quick update on what ARPA is, a budget update, our restricted and unrestricted funds, completed projects and other projects that are still being completed, and then talking about leveraging and grants. So if everybody recalls, in 2021, President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan Act, which was a $1.9 trillion piece of legislation that infused money into cities, states, counties, to recover from the pandemic. This was once-in-a-lifetime money for cities to use, and so, of course, there were guidelines with that. But this was supposed to be impactful and meaningful and meant to last a long time. The city of Rock Island received $26.5 million. Like I said, we have reporting requirements. We were talking about roads earlier. I know Alderwoman Gilbert mentioned roads. Unfortunately, the U.S. Treasury did not allow roads under the restricted funds, so that eliminated our ability to do that, to make any impact on roads. However, we were able to take what's called the revenue replacement. The U.S. Treasury allowed governments to take up to $10 million in revenue replacement or lost revenue, because they understood that cities also lost money during the pandemic. So we classify that as the unrestricted funds. And what that means is that they don't have the rigorous reporting requirements that the other funds have. So we did elect to take the $10 million revenue replacement. If you recall last year, the city council developed 5 ARPA guiding principles to help guide how this money should be spent. We also use city council goals to help drive that. And then in July of last year, we initiated the ARPA survey, and we had almost 2,000 people respond in the time that was open. And so what that showed us was the top 5 results from our stakeholders in Rock Island. And I'll talk about that here momentarily. So I know this is hard to read. It's hard to get it all on one sheet. So this is our ARPA budget restricted. We had budgeted 16.459. We're at 16.489 as of July 1. And of course, that's fluid. That's going to fluctuate as things come in and out. So what we've got here is one thing that I wanted to note. The water, the generators, the backup generators for the water treatment plant, that's $500,000. Our Public Works Department has applied for a grant. So we're hoping, I know we probably won't get word of that until at least September, I'm thinking, yeah. So we're hoping to be able to offset another $500,000 of that. So we'll wait and see, but I did include it in the overall budget. And if you also notice, we came in overall a couple $100,000 under the 26.5 million, and we just did that to be somewhat conservative, you know, and have built in some contingency. So just want to note that as well. So on restricted funds, city software, that's a big project that the city's in desperate need of. We did do the Rock Island Parkway. That was a road project that I think it was along with some other funds, some grants and funding from the state that we used for that. We did allocate $1 million towards road repairs. Because this doesn't have any time frame on it, we haven't decided what road projects, so you guys can look at that. I'm sure Public Works has several ideas on that. The marina, the city lost revenue. We allocated $1 million for the city in the lost revenue. Thus far, we have paid $267,000 out in employee benefits, or excuse me, bonuses. That was in addition to the police, because that was line-eyed separate. And then we have the tourism entities that we decided to give the Botanical Center, QC Arts, and then the Backwater Gamblers that came out of that. And then also the additional $50,000 that council voted on last spring to give for the West End assessment. So that leaves us with $383,000 there. We've still got the mental health, homelessness, and tourism, which I'll touch on here coming up. And then, of course, we have the City Hall renovations, but don't have anything there. And then the facade and the, grid program, assistance to businesses, is in progress, and I'll talk about that as well. So total ARPA funds. So we've allocated all of the money. It's $26.387 million. Of that, as of July 1, we've spent about $7.5 million. So although we have 18.83 remaining, those are already earmarked for projects, but that's what we have left to spend total. And then breaking it down by the top 5 priorities from Rock Island stakeholders. So here we go. We have $14 million for infrastructure. That was the number one concern, and that was just no roads. I had to emphasize on the survey that no roads could be included. That's water and sewer, broadband, all those kind of infrastructure components. So I think City Council did a good job, and staff of getting what the public wanted, and a big bulk of our money is infrastructure that we've allocated, and that's consistent with the national trend also. According to a Brookings Metro report recently, all the 250 cities that they're tracking, the larger metro cities that they're tracking, most all of them had over 50% of their ARPA allocations dedicated to infrastructure. So that you guys are doing what the national trend is doing. The Parks and Rec, green space, neighborhoods, 2.9 million. Assistance to businesses, 1.25 million. Public safety, I also put in all of our cameras because that goes to public safety, some of our fire projects and things like that into public safety. And then mental health, we allocated $250,000 to mental health, but after all our focus groups, we discovered, of course, that they're so intertwined, mental health and homelessness. So I did lump those together because they're just so, it's hard to differentiate those two issues because they work so intertwined together. Okay, and then this is just broken down by project. So as you can see, all the infrastructure, and I broke those down by restricted, unrestricted. And so that's that. Again, we're hoping to offset that backup generators, water treatment grant, so hopefully we'll be able to leverage some of that. Okay, here is the GRIT and the PEP program. We put 1.25 million. And then all of our parks, green space neighborhoods, of course, Hauberg, the library, we're gonna have that STEAM lab at MLK and all of those parks projects as well. Okay, public safety. So I talked about, ambulances, weather sirens, that's all safety. We've got the license plate readers, the recruitment retention plan that Chief Landy brought this year, and then the radios that are coming, and then, of course, some of the IT projects that to lead to our public safety. Mental health and homelessness, there's that we still need to allocate. Okay, and then other category, whatever didn't fall under those 5 top survey I put here. And as you can see, a lot of that is housing. So the housing rehab, we've allocated 106 or 109 for the land bank. If you remember recently, for the regional land bank with Moline and East Moline. We've still got some demolition money, that's all there. City council still needs to, with our economic development department, figuring out what we want to do with that infill and new housing. We've got time again, because that's unrestricted funds. Of course, my salary, and there's another salary paid out of there, and then aid to tourism, the marina, and then the snow plows came out of unrestricted. So we'll have 8 new snow plows next year. They're on back order, so they're very nice. I have a picture of them coming up.
Next year, right, next year?
Oh, okay. So hopefully for this part of the winter maybe, but.
Yeah.
Okay, so project updates that are still going on. This one will probably go on for some time. That's why we kept it in unrestricted. GRIT, Growing Rock Island Together. And this is, I don't want to steal Tara and Miles' thunder, so I'm just giving a very high-level update on that. So they launched it. Of course, City Council voted and approved it in May. They launched it in June, and we've received 29 applications thus far, representing about 5.365 million in investments in the city. So it kind of lists out all of those different businesses. And if anybody has any questions about that later, we will call Miles up to talk about it. I know they have a great system in place of how they're taking applications, who's doing what, and they have that really nailed down. So that's up and going. Of course, our downtown, again, I don't want to steal any thunder. That's the next July study session presentation. But I just wanted to remind everybody, if you haven't, please do take the survey. I believe Wednesday is the last day. So if you haven't done so, they really are taking the public input from this. So. Okay, law enforcement technology. There's cameras that were recently installed on 7th Avenue. And then if you see, that's leading this up to the Centennial Bridge there. If you can see the right-hand side, I wish I had one of those little clickers. You can see on the lamp post the license plate readers. And those are those flock license plate readers, which is really nice for our police department to get people, coming in and out of the city, stolen cars, things like that. And I'm sure if people have questions, Chief can talk about that. Focus groups, so we had those last fall. Mental health, we're in the process of setting up a meeting. I still need to get with you, Alderperson Hurd, on that. We have a meeting with Alderwoman Swanson for homelessness on the 18th of this month. And then tourism. The city manager and I have met with Alderwoman Gilbert and Alderperson Parker a couple of different times. We also met with Visit Quad Cities. We had a draft RFP that was based on feedback from the focus group. What everybody said in that focus group was put into this RFP, and additional things as well. And we met with Visit Quad Cities. What can they do? What do they already do? And then right now, we are waiting for the new economic development director to before we proceed any further. But it looks like we're looking at maybe hiring somebody for that. And if anybody has questions, or if Alderwoman Gilbert or Alderperson Parker wants to talk further about that, I would encourage you to. I don't want to steal your thunder on your thoughts on how we move that forward. But it was decided to kind of just wait till that new person comes in and get working on that with the new person. Infrastructure projects, as you know, last Monday, the downtown parking garage was opened. You can see the old one versus the new one. I think it's a lot better personally. You can actually see, there's not people living there. There's not, there's a lot of crime and it was deteriorating and it was just not a good thing. So I think a lot of people are probably happy to have that new parking lot. Snow plows. Told you I had a picture. That's what our new snow plows will look like. Very exciting. Hauberg Estate, they recently held their open house for the carriage house, and it was very nice. I was able to attend, but you can kind of see some of the before and after there. Todd Winter, I got you in one of those pictures, you see? And so it's very nice. That was an awesome project to see how much work they put into that one. And then Dinkman Park was a recent event in June for that open house, ADA basketball courts. We're getting new ambulances. I don't know if anybody can see on the right is the Jaws of Life, they call it, the extrication equipment. That was one of the projects that we used restricted funds for, so they've already purchased that and have already used that. Highland Springs, very nice. That was the spring, the open house, and very nice addition out there. Of course, Watts Midtown Library with the YMCA project, another great project. And then one thing I really wanted to point out to council, because it was mentioned numerous times, and it was really important when we were talking about our guiding principles, is how to make this money last and how to leverage in partnerships. And a lot of this isn't a result of ARPA specifically, but the city was able to help or partner that maybe they wouldn't have been able to do so had it not been for the ARPA money. For example, the new Watts Midtown Library, city invested $500,000. Of course, you have the library board, the library foundation, the Y, the city. There's all kinds of funding there. Douglas Park, Friends of Douglas Park. How many cities in this area can we say that actually have friends of, that's a pretty remarkable. The T-Mobile grant that the Parks Department got, of course, the city's donation for the ARPA funds. Hauberg, also, another Friends CDBG funds were used for that. And then leveraging. Again, using HUD funds, using private donation, private funders, like, for example, Highland Springs, you've got the First Tee. They've definitely put some money out there. They're going to be out there for a while because they've invested. And that's important. That's going to be, long-term impactful. The pickleball courts, the Parks Department got a grant from the state to offset that. Same thing with downtown Rock Island. We pooled all that money together to come together. Parking structure, and I can go on. The one I do want to mention is the Augustana project. So I don't know if you recall last year, I had talked to council about, we were members of the National League of City, and there was this free grant navigator program. Well, our Public Works Department is amazing, and they don't need a grant navigator program. However, was not that savvy in applying for grants, so Jason and Upton and I worked together with our navigator team with the National League of Cities and applied for a $50,000 state grant to help offset some of those costs with the lead project that we're doing with Augie. And it's phase 1, and to qualify for phase 2 and phase 3 of that project, you had to qualify for phase 1. So although $50,000 isn't a lot, it can equate to other money. And so there's some examples of that maybe aren't a direct result for our contribution of ARPA, but winded up getting funds elsewhere. So, and I think that project's really going to open up more partnerships with Augustana. And that's all I have. So I tend to talk very fast. So if I missed anything or you have any questions, or you guys want to talk about anything specific, we got time.
You want to talk about a boat ramp, handicap boat ramp at Sunset? Oh.
A quick question, so it says completed now on the ambulances, they're just ordered, right?
They're ordered, yeah, yep. So in terms of my brain, they're completed, like purchased, there's no money left.
Any idea when those will be?
End of '24, first quarter '25.
Okay, thank you.
And there were 3 we purchased?
We can answer your question when we're done with the meeting.
And we have 3 now?
Yeah, Chief Graff, do you want to come up? And it's my understanding they rotate them,
Yeah.
right? That's why we have 3.
We just double checked with the manufacturer. It's a chassis delay, same as any other vehicle that's out there. 3 purchases of the ambulances, that's what we've done the last 3 rotations. 2 are in service full-time, and then 1 is a reserve. What we have found out is by purchasing 3 new, we're able to put frontline, new warranty work, hopefully less maintenance. In the past, we had always kept 1 from the previous generation, and the maintenance was just incredible because it aged much more quickly. So we're able to change over much more quickly. The maintenance is much lower, and then also, they don't have to continually switch between the vehicles. They can just keep the vehicle they have because it's a frontline status vehicle.
Great.
Yep. Any other questions?
Great job putting this together. Looks good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
Oh, your pictures.
Thank you. I'm a visual person, so
Yeah.
Yep.
we'll see where your money's being spent.
All right.
All right, guys, I guess
Thank
we
you
get a
very
long,
much.
nice break.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Can't get an adjournment without a roll call, and you're not here to do the roll call.
Voice vote now, you don't need me anymore.
That's true. I
I didn't put
I
voice
forgot
vote.
about that. I need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Move to second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. We are adjourned. See everybody.